Good evening, or whatever time you may be watching me across the globe, especially to all Southern Cameroonians, people from West Cameroon, because officially the people of our territory are still people of West Cameroon. That is why they call our territory Northwest and Southwest in the Cameroon Constitution, North and South of West Cameroon. If you choose to call yourself Ambazonians, you are welcome. My address today is for all Cameroonians, not just Anglophones, all of them, which I'm going to focus the subject. Later I address the issue of Ayaba, who have released statement finally from prison after I think 5 months of being detained, practically incommunicado in Norway. Fellow people, for the past 80 years and counting, our people have been going through this war that have been described as the Anglophone crisis as a result of our people seeking to assert themselves after suffering 60 years of oppression, marginalization, attempted assimilation by the central government of Cameroon. 2016, when this war was triggered by the central government of Cameroon reaction to legitimate grievances that was being posed and put on the table, on the negotiation table, led by Agbogbala, the leader of the consortium. Instead of the Cameroon government resolving this issue through negotiation, they choose to burn down villages, send away our people, later by Cameroon SDO and Governor Lele Afrique, calling our people Biafra, asking them to leave Akwaya into Nigeria, calling them cockroaches. These were all attempted genocide to complete what Cameroon have not succeeded, to dissolve the 2 cubes of sugar, to use force, brute force. Helicopter gunships were launched against our people. Villages were being torched. Thousands and hundreds of thousands of our people were fleeing into Nigeria as refugees. They banned our collective ability to present ourselves by banning the consortium, arresting those who were negotiating with the Cameroon government. Our people invoked their right of self-determination, organized themselves into militias, groups of Ambazonian fighters to defend themselves against Cameroon aggression, which is justified under international law. For the past 80 years, we have fought very hard and we have made huge progress. The 2 cubes of sugar have refused to dissolve. Cameroon itself do no longer reject our historical origin of being these 2 cubes of sugar. Cameroon have acknowledged, their president have apologized to the international community of attempting to assimilate us, the Anglophone people, into the Francophone system. A lot of water have gone through the bridge. I'll come to that later. But first, what we have heard coming from the jails in Oslo, from Cho'S Ayaba, is not an acknowledgement for why he's been detained, but is continue using our history to try to cover the crimes and his real situation back in Oslo. I want to remind all of you, lest you forget, that criminals, people who carry wanton execution of innocent people, cannot give us freedom. They can never deliver us freedom. Even if they can, they are hung up in jail. I want to assure our people, no people in Africa or the world can achieve independence by rewriting their own history and telling a lie about their origin. Senegambia did not achieve independence by claiming they were not part of Senegambia. Southern Sudan did not achieve independence by claiming they were never a part of Sudan, even though they had a similar history of being a trustee territory like our territory. The right of self-determination is an integral part of international law that is recognized. Our people have a good case. This is what you should know. On this fateful day, on the 4th of October in Gozang, as you can see here from this picture, 2 young men were killed by the ADF, publicly executed. The next day, I, Capo Daniel, approached the Advocacy members, especially Larry, who works with the European Union. I provided with him information about these young men. Mbang Mesik Hans, who was a prince of Gozang. This is the person who helped me when I was a deputy defense chief to organize meeting of traditional rulers, quarter heads in Gozang with General Sumanguru and the head of the TTA that were having problems with the ADF. This young man helped us to resolve that problem and enable ADF to be in Gozang. And he was killed by the ADF. Why was he killed? I want to remind you how he was killed so that you do not forget.
Following the established Amazonian Code of Law and Code of Justice, carried out summary execution publicly.
So, you should never forget, these 2 young men, Hans and the other one is Cletus, both of them were picked up that same day. I informed the Advocacy that this young man have helped me when I was the Deputy Defense Chief to reconcile General Efang and Captain Commando. He was very critical because he was a loyalty. He made it to happen. They knew that this man was innocent because I told them. But let us give them the benefit of the doubt that it was a mistake or the soldiers made mistake to kill these 2 people. Wanton execution of unarmed men are war crimes. No human being will do this in public and stand up to justify it. Regardless of what happened, these are unarmed men executed. Was this a random killing of our people by the ADF with their Advocacy members? No, it was not. When I was with the Advocacy, Cho Lucas Ayaba, in the ADF General Chat Group called Ground Zero, ADF Ground Zero Forum, Ayaba Cho actually wanted a traditional ruler, a chief, a fawn in Ambazonia to be publicly executed, beheaded, as he had promised. He made those statements. I have the record of those statements when I was in the Advocacy. And I objected. I told him, show me the crime of the traditional ruler that you want to execute. Because he wanted to demonstrate strength. He didn't care about if a traditional ruler have committed a crime or not. He did not care. That is why I believe they don't care whether these people were actually innocent civilians or not. They don't care. They just wanted to show strength. Recently, you saw General Capo of Bui, going around seizing the ID card of people in Bui. Sheikh Kabi, who is a commander in the ADF, the founder of the ADF, came out to support it as a policy and to promote it. Because for him, he just seeks power. He sees that as a show of strength and to compensate for their lack of ability to free our people by force. They want to project themselves and they are willing to kill innocent people for that. I'm a witness of that, of this policy. Several times when I was in that very chat group, I have all those records. Cho Ayaba called for the soldiers to execute blacklegs. And I repeatedly restrained the soldiers with my appeal that no blacklegs, yes, blacklegs, we should define what is a blackleg. It is somebody who have been hired by the Cameroon military, somebody who for political reasons who oppose the struggle, oppose our independence, and acts as a spy during wartime for the Cameroon army, such people are considered under customary international law as an integral part of the war machine of Cameroon and could be legitimately targeted for those activities. But you cannot arrest innocent civilians for the purpose of sending a message to blackleg or spies and execute them. It is a war crime. You cannot do this to innocent people. I have repeatedly insisted that nobody should be executed like this because they want to send a message to the population. I have those in record. So the ADF has premeditated this thing for years. They had these ideas for years. The only reason this thing didn't happen when I was with them was because I had a strong voice to counter such radicalism, such criminality. Ayaba have promised to behead a traditional ruler just to show people he is strong. So this is a pattern of people who are sick. You should understand, history cannot clean the blood of these two people. Calling our history, invoking our history, the justification of this crisis cannot clean the blood of these people, cannot justify wanton execution of two unarmed, innocent civilians. Remember that this is not the only crime that Ayaba Cho have been called for by credible international human rights to be arrested for. On the fateful day in July 16 in Bamenda, following Ayaba Cho's outing, where he calls for Bamileke people to be targeted, specifically targeted, the ADF, led by the ADF commander in Goza in Tanka who have died, General JC, they came with two vehicles in Bamenda and Nacho Street, went around the homes of people, gathered people looking for francophones, gathered them at the Nacho Junction, opened fire and execute them. 8 people died on the spot. 2 later died in the hospital. This happened in July 16. Innocent people, because they want to implement a policy that they call Frog Must Go. Ayaba Cho announced it on the 14th of July, blaming francophones for the killing of a young ADF teenager. That we all know. I called them and provided them the intelligence that that boy was not killed because of francophones. He was involved in a kidnapping of a francophone girl who was dating one of his friends that staged a kidnapping to extort money from her parents. And that is how that boy was killed alongside with his friends by Cameroon military, who also committed crime by executing those boys. So on false basis, they send people to go and kill francophones. When you target a class of people collectively, that means that everybody in that class is a potential target. It becomes a war crime, a crime against humanity. These are the 2 crimes that Ayaba Cho have been arrested for specifically. You have never heard them addressing this issue or take command responsibility, or members of their group to come and deny or reject. Let's just say that they condemn, that they don't accept for innocent people to be executed, or francophones to be executed in that manner, or they disagree with the policies of Ayaba Cho. No, they are doubling down on those policies. Since then, 9 taxi men have been executed in our street in Bamenda. 14 taxis burned down because they want to ban yellow color taxi. These are crimes against our people. Now they are going after every citizen who have a Cameroon ID card, or you are Anglophone. You have a skin in this crisis. Your sons and daughters are also being deployed as the military on our territory. We did not hear an apologetic Ayaba Cho who recognizes that it is a mistake to carry out summary execution of unarmed men or to publicly target Bamileke people and francophones in our territory as a result or for the sake of this crisis. These are wanton disregard of human rights. My fellow people, today I've come to tell you that we started this war. Why? Because Cameroon intended within 2 weeks to wipe out these 2 cubes of sugar, to dissolve these 2 cubes of sugar, to change our identity to be francophones, to francophonize us. They attempted to impose their French jurists over our judicial system, deploying francophones into our common law jurisdiction to come and handle cases. We know of the case in Womb. Plaintiffs had to translate for the judge. They have tried to change our education system into francophones. Those things were an attempt to wipe our history and our identity. Fellow Southern Cameroonians, we do no longer face a situation where a super state is trying to dissolve the 2 cubes of sugar. By declaring the special status, Cameroon have acknowledged publicly that they now recognize our historic origin as Anglophones coming from the British Southern Cameroon. Not an issue of linguistic, not an issue of anything. Those reasons why we pick up arms do no longer exist. Armed conflict to pursue our right of self-determination is no longer a viable or an acceptable approach to pursue the route of self-determination. We must recognize that the table have changed, and the situation we faced in 2016 are no longer the same situation we face today. This is not what those who promote the war within the regime wants you to hear. They have even partnered up with the most radical element in our struggle because they want to mask the legitimate grievances of our people with extremist idea. They have promoted Ayaba. They have armed the ADF. They have helped to radicalize our youth. Konda Titus, Clovis, and all those who work for the DDR, who were supposedly fighting against Ambazonian fighters, have become instrument to radicalize them, arm them, creating their own groups. Ngala Gerard, we saw his groups on 11 February carrying out an attack in Kambe, a false flag attack, claiming it was Ambazonian in Kambe that killed a 14-year-old youth from Banso and 2 Cameroon military men. Those attacks were claimed by Ayaba as attack carried out by the ADF. The Cameroon people who wants this war to continue, the people within this regime, sees Ayaba as an asset, sees the ADF and their radicalism as a reason for them to maintain their political positioning in the Cameroon government. Fellow Southern Cameroonians, we must recognize that the war is soiled by dirty politics that do not serve the interests of our people. The corruption within our Ambazonian ranks, our separatist ranks during these 80 years have made it impossible for us to governize our people. The corruption of my trip to Boya, the CDC deal made by Chris Anu and Sako with Lele Afrique and Okala Bilai, who sit as the board members of the CDC, led to the destruction of our entire core forces in the Southwest. There is no viable option for military campaign to seek self-determination. It is now counterproductive. It is now a money business. Kidnapping for ransom have redefined the space of self-defense. Nobody who have empathy to our people can ignore these realities. Fellow Cameroonians, the People's Right Advocacy platform have reached out to our communities that are bearing the brunt of this crisis. We have reached out to our refugees in Nigeria. You have heard the local chiefs. You have heard our population. They have demanded for us to end the war and to bring them back home. They want us to have a negotiated settlement. Our people demand a negotiated settlement to end this war of shame. This war that have bring out the worst in us. Our people need this war to stop. It do not serve them any longer. There is no question about the 2 cubes of sugar again being dissolved. While the Cameroon government have acknowledged our historic origins, affirming our identity, their policies from the Grand National Dialogue still seeks to assimilate our people, prescribing a form of bilingualism that makes Francophones, French, the dominant language in our territory. This do not preserve our culture and our identity. It still eradicates it. Given the size of our population, our minority people within this super-state Cameroon deserve the same type of protection we see people from Quebec in Canada enjoys. We see people from the territories of the French government in France, in Guyana, other French territory they enjoys. Our people deserve the protection of their identity. Fellow Southern Cameroonians, listen to me and listen to me very carefully, because the risk of us being self-destructive is very high. No people have attained independence by rewriting their history. We must take responsibility of the actions of our forebears. We must take responsibility of the plebiscite where our people voted to join French Cameroon. It is us who joins them. It is not them who join us. And we must accept this reality. We cannot claim we are not a part of Cameroon when we are a part of Cameroon. It does not strengthen our case. It is counterproductive. We should understand when Gorgi Dinka said that Cameroon have seceded. In implication, he is also admitted that the union between the 2 Cameroons are for real. Whether he admits it or not, the reality is that Cameroon is a super state that was created by these 2 territories, both of whom were all United Nations trusteeship territories. The basis for this union was for equality of our identity in this super state Cameroon. Cameroon is not former French Cameroon. It is just simply dominated. In case you wonder, in case in the midst of propaganda, you are confused of the problem, you only need to read the lips of Paul Biya, who admitted that they have failed to assimilate us into the Francophone system. That in itself tells you the root causes and defines the root causes. The root causes is marginalization and assimilation by a French-dominated government that seeks to create a super-state Cameroon in the image of the French Cameroon. That is the root cause. The root cause is not colonization. It is ridiculous for us to accept our own propaganda as reality. Cameroon did not colonize us. This is not colonialism. This is not colonialism. We have a legitimate and a just case for self-determination. I've been a chief diplomat in our diplomatic mission. I went with the Advocacy to Spain to campaign for recognition of our independence as Ambazonia. It was rejected, and we were advised by our friends in Spain, in the Basque country, that the only viable option for us was to seek for self-determination. And they voted in their parliament to recognize Ambazonia as a people who have a right to self-determination, not as an independent country. The most radical element and extreme element who brings us this ideology that we are an independent country already because our independence was either declared by Siseko Ayok Tabi or that they do not recognize the plebiscite or the resulting union between the 2 Cameroons are wrong. They are wrong. I've told Ayaba he is wrong. Ayaba during the Canadian negotiation requested support from NOREP for research work to be done on the status of our territory by a Norwegian professor of his choosing. The result came back, and the result was very affirmative of the reality that we are part of Cameroon. We join Cameroon. We are recognized as one country with former French Cameroon. There is no doubt in my mind and in the reality of the war that that result was correct. Ayaba refused to share those documents with the cabinet of the Advocacy. because he is obsessed. He's obsessed with his own ego of a vision of our territory that is based on falsehood. We must, for anything to succeed, build the future of our identity and the 2 cubes of sugar on truth. Yes, Cameroon was as equally wrong when they claim they own the former German Cameroon as much as anybody else. Cameroon was wrong to think that former French Cameroon was the mother territory, motherland that inherits the identity of the German Cameroon. They are no more Cameroonian as us Anglophones. We are all equal in status, and that must be reflected in the Constitution of Cameroon. We have proposed through our Peace Plan Paper Initiative a vision for 1 country, 2 people, 1 Cameroon, 2 people, that requires devolution of Cameroon, a change in the Constitution of Cameroon that clearly identifies the makeup of this superstate. Cameroon is a superstate. That means it is a country made up of 2 separate states that form this one union, just like Tanzania, just like Senegambia. This reality must be reflected in its founding document, in its constitution. These are the minimum we have demanded. This is a viable option for our people. We must decease and withdraw ourselves from this venom ideology that have taken hold of our community since the uprising of this Ambazonian struggle. Lies can never establish justice. It can never. We were wrong as much as Paul Biya and the Francophone-led regime of Betty clique in their ideology that have been written, well written by Joseph Owona, that claim us Anglophone as their subject and Francophone they being the dominant state, for the simple reason that they were a sovereign state before we unite with them. Yes, they were a sovereign state, but the promise for unification, the Unification Pact, clearly states that the 2 people will be equal in status. Those were the conditions for unification. And those are the basis for which we as a people must come together to secure a negotiated settlement. For the past 2 years, since I separated from the Ague of Sea, in my years being a founding member of the IG, the ambassador of Siseko Ayoktabi to Asia and the Middle East, I've worked tirelessly to campaign for the rights of our people, to defend their rights, to give them a voice in the diaspora. Today, I'm calling on all of our people, all the separatist leaders, to come together, re-strategize on how to move forward, and embrace the peace plan paper, a vision of 1 Cameroon, 2 people, as a viable way to bring our people back home, as a viable way to bring the refugees home, to get our prisoners released. Cameroon have shown already flexibility. They have met us in the negotiation table. Since 2 years that I changed my rhetoric and recognize our reality as a people and as a state and as a territory within the Cameroon government have reacted positively. They have stopped reprisals attacks against our people, and we have saved thousands of our people. We have pushed for community schools, and the Pope himself have embraced our idea of allowing schools to reopen under Ambazonian guidelines. Fellow Southern Cameroonians, we must realize that we are as wrong as Paul Biya when it comes to our extreme ideas. And it is time for us to make the necessary adjustment not to hold our people hostage to this idea of Ambazonia. It is the right thing to do, it's a moral thing to do. Cameroon have launched a series of 2 diplomatic missions to attempt to negotiate in the 2 years since we started this campaign as a result of our change in position and call for a new deal. All those 2 missions failed. Because when the emissaries of the state traveled abroad to meet all the various separatist leaders, none of them articulated any position, even a position of independence. None of them. We cannot rely on their declaration on social media and expect solutions to come from heaven. We must do the hard work to sit down, look in papers, and put things in writing on a roadmap for our people. We must be realistic and pragmatic with their future, irrespective of our rights to our vision. For those who still believe that Ambazonia is independent, that the declaration of Siseko Ayoktabi will be recognized, they should reconsider in the light of these changes and in the geopolitical changes around the world. The French government that supports the Cameroon government in place and the regime in place is growing stronger by the day as the European countries are looking upon France for their nuclear shield. The geopolitics do not favor us. We must learn from minority territories across the globe. Look at the Chechnya, who could not separate from Russia, have adopted themselves in order to preserve their own people. The Tibet region in China have also adjusted themselves. The Hong Kong people who wants to separate from China have also adjusted themselves to the reality that they cannot face China. Geopolitics is against us. We cannot separate from Cameroon by force or even through diplomatic campaign for the recognition of independence. The only viable option is for us to take the example of Northern Ireland, to take the example of the Basque country, to seek today what we will be able to seek tomorrow. A negotiated settlement that settle for one Cameroon, two people, and creates a pathway for our people to preserve their territorial integrity and a pathway for a future referendum. We will not even have these possibilities or even a discussion about a future referendum if we are not realistic and pragmatic. The way of extremists like Ayaba, you should be sure for it. People who commit summary execution, people who think it is okay to carry out summary execution and to go after Bamileke people and Francophones in the name of liberation can never free us. People who prey upon our people, people who subject on our people with such policies of repression, such terror to seek for political objective, whether noble or not, their end goal can never deliver for our people anything. We must come to this realization and do the hard work that it will take. Do not expect the AGOVC to one day address the crimes of Ayaba. They are delusional and they will continue to live in their delulu land. But we as a people must move forward. No quotation of our history is going to release Cho Ayaba from the blood of those innocent people who are crying for justice from their grave. Hans, Bamisik Hans, and Lucas and Cletus, their innocent blood cry for justice, and justice will be safe in Norway. Lucas Asu, who resides here in Canada, will face one day the justice of those people that were executed, which he proudly announced, summarily executed. Fellow Southern Cameroonians, you must realize this reality, because this reality have dawned on Cho Lucas Ayaba. We must realize and accept that the 2 cubes of sugar have been saved. There will be no dissolving of the 2 cubes of sugar. It has been recognized and given a special status within the superstate of Cameroon. This do not mean that I support the special status. I simply acknowledge it as a change in position of the Cameroon government that recognizes our history, and that is significant. We must now meet them halfway and work and leverage on the resistance. And to those who think that our call for cessation of hostility is a surrender, should see on the ground what is happening. You should see our lawyers standing up for their rights. You should see our chieftaincies, the people of Santa, standing up against the imposition of chiefs in our. You must see our people in Limbe in Victoria standing up from the Afeseka monument. You must see our people pushing back in various segments. This is how it is done. We must be able to go back. We must be flexible and re-strategize on how we can best preserve our identity and our culture and take advantage. Because right now, Paul Biya is the best option to negotiate a deal with us that will be respected in the future Cameroon. It is in our best interest and our public interest to seek for a negotiated settlement. And for the moment, drop the idea of recognition of our independence because it is not attainable, it is not realistic. For the moment, we must recognize that we are part of Cameroon, whether we like it or not. Our joint coexistence for the past 60 years has produced marvelous culture of Francophones uniting with Anglophones. Look at our musicians, look at our cultural heroes. Look at Francophones, how they embrace us as Anglophones and forget about the regime in place. The regime in place will one day disappear like many other regimes have disappeared. But we must, as a people, take responsibility. Because when there is a conflict and there are parties to those conflicts, as responsible are those parties, that will be for the benefit of the people. Today, I want to call upon all of our people to understand that there is the Ayaba Cho is as hopeless as his idea of the recognition of Ambazonian independence or his ideology that Ambazonian is independent. Those who seek to follow his path can no longer deny his extreme views and extreme policies that are counterproductive to our collective struggle. He must be seen for who he is, a criminal with blood in his hands, and our people must move forward and not be held hostage by extremist members within our society. God bless you. I wish you a happy day and a blessed day wherever you are.